Hello, my name is Kurt Schwer, and I'll be showing you the Emacs text editor. Now, Emacs is more than just a text editor. It's a full environment for all sorts of text manipulation tasks, including programming and managing projects and other tasks. So today I'd like to give you an overview of how to use Emacs using just the keyboard. So we're going to avoid using the mouse at all. So put your mouse aside and follow along, and you'll get a sense of how do you use basic keyboard strokes to control Emacs. Now what you're seeing right here is Ubuntu Linux running GNU Emacs. Now if you're using a Mac or Windows, it'll look slightly different, but the keys should all be pretty much the same. So the first key thing to know is that Emacs works off of the control and the meta keys. Now, when you type control, and you're going to see a C dash something or other, that means hold down the control key and then press a letter at the same time. So I'm going to teach you a number of control keys and meta keys today. The first one is control G, which is quit. So hold down control and press the letter G, and you'll actually see at the bottom down here quit in what's called the mini buffer. Now Emacs, this is the status window for what's going on with Emacs. This will be the file name or what generally you're looking at. This is how much of it you're seeing, and this is the line number you're on. Now this is where it says fundamental. This will actually display the mode of what we're in, whether it's text, a programming language, or something else. On the left, when we see 2% signs, that means it's not something we can edit. Now let's learn a first keystroke, which is super important after quit, and that's exit in case you're stuck in here. So that's Control X. So you'll see now C-X in the bottom left, and I'm not going to type it because it would exit. Control C after that would then exit. Now I'm going to use the Control G to quit that, or it now says undefined, and Control G, we're back to where we were. The next keyboard stroke that I'd like to show you is how to open or visit a file, as it's called in Emacs. So that's Control X. Now you see the C-X at the bottom here, and Control F, and now it's going to say find file. It's going to prompt you for where on the computer it's going to be looking for the file. Emacs has a helper called the tab key, which is on the left of your keyboard. If you press that, it tries to complete whatever it can if you give it a partial, and it will keep going. And if it doesn't know what you're doing, it'll start showing you options, and they'll appear up here above that. So let's go ahead and open up a hello world.txt file, so just some text file. And in that file, let's go ahead and learn how to save it. So there's nothing in our text file right now. At the bottom it says we are at line 1 and we're in text mode here. So let's save it. And the keyboard command for saving a file is Control X, Control S. So there we've written hello world.txt to our home directory. Now if we want to no longer edit that file, we can do what's called kill the buffer. So buffers are views into files, so by killing the buffer we're not actually killing the file. And that's done with Control X and then the letter K by itself. And here it's going to give us an option to do other buffers if we wanted to, but the default is the one that you're on, and that in this case it's our hello world.txt buffer representing the file hello world.txt. If I press enter, the buffer goes away and we are back to the home screen. Okay, so let's reopen hello world.txt. So I did a Control X and then a Control F, and then I typed hello world.txt. We're back to our empty file, and I'm going to just write in the commands that we've done so far. So Control G is quit, Control X, Control C is exit, and Control X, Control F is open / visit in quotes a file, and Control XK is kill the buffer representing a file. And that's not deleting a file. Okay, so let's learn about keyboard motion. So far I've just been typing and pressing enter, and now you can use the arrow keys to go up and down, left and right, just like you would in any other text editor. But Emacs also has some shortcuts. So let's go through those. To move around, so I'm going to put myself in the middle here. To go forward is Control F. So you won't see anything, it just moves the cursor forward. Put that down. CF is move forward one character. And there's a corresponding B for move back. So if we do Control B, we keep moving back and it will keep wrapping around lines. Now if we also have the meta key, so let's introduce that. And it's written as M and then a letter. So if we do MF is move forward one word. So I'm going to move up here and we're going to jump forward by one word. There's two ways to do this. The first way is press the escape key in the top left of your keyboard. Now at the bottom here you should see an escape appear, and now it's ready to take that meta character, and then we're going to press F. So if you saw that, we jumped from beginning of forward to the end of forward. The other way to do the meta key is on a Dell keyboard or standard PC. It's usually the Alt key, so you press and hold the Alt key and then press the letter F and you'll go forward. This is the same on the Mac, and on Windows it may also be the Alt. Okay, so that's forward by one word, and there's a corresponding meta B move back one word. So if I hold down the meta key and I keep pressing the B letter, we move back by one word. To delete a character, that's Control D. So if I type a bunch of stuff and we press Control D, that stuff will disappear. Delete a character. So when you're at the point, so if I put it on the first letter A, if we have two letter A's, I press and hold Control, and then the letter D removes what's right on the cursor. Okay, and we also have a meta D character that's delete a word. So if I put this right here at the beginning, and I do a meta D, so I'll do an escape, and then the letter D, the word is gone. To go with that, let me teach you the undo. So hold down Control, and it's actually the underscore, so it's a shift and where the minus key is up in the top right of your keyboard. So this will be Control underscore, and that will undo the last thing, and it can actually undo a whole bunch of stuff. It's got a very big buffer, so it can go back quite a ways. So C and then the underscore is undo. Alright, so let's do a little more motion here. If we do Control P, that's the previous line, otherwise known as up. So Control P is going up, which is the same as me doing the arrow keys. CN is next line or down. So we can do Control and an N, and we go down. Now there's some really handy ones. Control A, move to the beginning of a line, and CE, move to the end of the line. So if I type a Control A, I go to the beginning of this line, and Control E, I go to the end. You'll find those keys are very helpful in the terminal in addition to being in here in Emacs. So a lot of these keys are directly mapped in the bash shell that we've been talking about in the Research Tools course. Okay, so more motion. Let's do some ones that move a lot farther. So the meta less than is beginning of the buffer. So if I press escape and then I do a less than, so you'll see the escape down here on the bottom left. We'll do a less than, and the cursor, or in Emacs speak, that's the point, is moved to the beginning of the file. Now if we do meta greater than, that's the end of the file. So again, escape less than goes to the beginning of the file, escape greater than goes to the bottom. We can also do page jumps. So if we do a Control V, that's page down, and Meta V is page up. So then that would be an escape and then V, as in Victor. Those keys, if we type them right now, nothing happens because we have everything on one page, and so we can't see anything. So let's have a little fun with manipulating the display so that we can see more text, and we can try those page up and page down. We can split the window in different ways within Emacs, so we can either view multiple files at the same time or the same file in different places. So let's learn how to split this. And that first key is Control X2, and this will split top to bottom. So we'll do a Control X and then a 2. And now we have the same file viewed on both the bottom and the top. Now to jump between the two views, we have Control X and the letter O for other. So this would be split top bottom for Control X2, and go to the other window for Control XO. So let's go ahead and do a Control X and the letter O. We jump to the other side, Control XO, and we jump back up to the top. We can also split left to right. So Control X3, split left right. So we can split with a Control X and the number 3 by itself, and now we have one split left to right. And if we do Control XO to jump to the other, we jump to the right, and then Control XO, and we're now at the bottom. One more time, at the last one, we jump right back to the beginning. Now this can get really annoying, so let's do a Control X1, and that's remove everything else. Control X1, remove all windows, simplify life. So let's go back up here real quick, and we'll look at another thing. Control L is going to center the screen and redraw it at where the cursor is to be right in the middle. So I'm going to press a Control L, and now that line is right in the middle of the screen. So that tends to help you focus everything, or if somehow the screen got messed up, you can redraw. So let's split Control X2, and we now have two displays so that they're narrower, and we actually do need to page up and page down. So let's try that paging up. So hold down the Alt key and press the letter V as in Victor, and we go up. So if you see that, we've done Meta V, so hold down Alt and press V. If we keep doing it, we get to the beginning of the file. Now if we press Control V, we start going down in the file. So we've now done these two commands, Control V and Meta V, page up and page down. So this is annoying me to have two split windows, so I'm going to do Control X0, and we're now back to this single window. And we'll keep moving on with a few more commands. The next thing that we need to do is we need to search. It's always good to be able to find things as your files get bigger. You'll be looking for stuff to either edit or to read. And search is done with Control S, text. So this is search. And if you type the text lowercase, your search is going to be case insensitive. It won't care what case it is. If you do anything with a capital letter, you get case sensitive search. And it will do a progressive search as we go. So we'll move the cursor up before search. We'll type Control S, and you now get this thing at the bottom where it says iSearch. So we're now beginning the search, and as you start typing, you'll see the match. So start typing text slowly, so you'll see T, and now we've matched all the T's on the screen, TE, and we only have a few of those. And then we type the X and the T. We've now matched two different texts. Now when you're in the middle of a search, there's two ways to get out of it. One is to just move the cursor with either the control keys or the arrow keys, or you can do a control G to get out of your search and go back to where you started. So there I just pressed a control G. Now let's try that case-sensitive search. So if I type control S, press the letter T, we've now found that first capital T, EXT, we've only got one. So here I'm going to just go ahead and press enter, and we're now got the cursor at the end of the match. So let's try a search for text, TEXT. Now if we keep searching for it again, we want to keep finding the next instance, we can just press Control S again, and it will find the next one. And when you get to the bottom and you search again and there's nothing to find, it's going to say failing search. Now if you press Control S again, it will go back to the top of the file and search down from below. So in this case, it searched to the bottom, jumped to the beginning of the top, and we were then able to find the next one. So let's try a search that isn't here, so it makes it more obvious that we've jumped back to the top. So if we say search, and we'll use file, which isn't being found, it's up above us, and we'll press Control S another time, Control S, and we jump way up to the top of the file. And we're now at line 3. We'll do a Control S, we'll jump to each of the files as we go through it. And so you'll see me cycling through the whole set of 4 instances of the word file in this document. Now, I tend to do this just out of habit, but if you remember, search or save was Control X, Control S, and that will save your document. Alright, now let's do a little cut and paste and highlighting. There's the first key you need to know is Control Spacebar, and this is start or toggle marking a region. So this is like taking your mouse and dragging it over an area. So here I've got my cursor right on the beginning of the word start. I'm going to hold down Control and press the spacebar. At the bottom you'll see mark set, and now as I move the arrow keys you'll see that I'm highlighting a region. I can Control G and I'm out of that, or I can do Control Space, mark a region. If I type Control Space again, it will unmark that region and start a new one. So we can do Control Space, it'll mark activate, Control Space again, mark deactivated. So let's create some random text, very exciting text, and we'll do a Control Space, and we'll back up here a little bit. And the next command is to copy a region, and that's meta W. So I'll press the escape key and then the letter W, and it hasn't said too much, but it's copied that into a little buffer. And let's mark that down. So meta W is copy, and if I want to just paste that someplace, the key is Control Y. So that's yank. So CY is yank, otherwise known as paste. This was done way before even Microsoft existed, so the names don't necessarily follow anything you'll see in Microsoft or the Macintosh. Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're not. There's also cut, and that would be Control W, and that's cut. So we'll go up here, I'll press the Control A to go to the beginning of that, space to mark it, go to the end, and Control W, it's gone. And now if I hit Control Y, I've pasted it right back in there. There's another one which is really useful, and that's to kill from the cursor to the end of the line, CK, and that's kill to end of line. So I'm going to press Control K to get rid of this, and everything from that point on to the end of the line is gone, but it's been saved in that buffer, so we can go down and we can paste it with the Control Y at the bottom. So Control K was kill, meta W was copy, Control W was cut, Control Y was yank or paste. Now if let's pick something else, 1, 2, 3, Control A, and then we're just going to hit Control K to copy that, and say we wanted to paste that, and we hit Control Y, and remember that we'd saved a bunch of stuff before with copying, and maybe we want some of that back. So if you don't touch anything else, but then you go and you use the command meta Y, Instead of yanking in that spot again, what it will do is it'll go back one more in the series of things that you copied and paste those in. So if I do a meta y, it jumps back to the previous copy, and meta y, if we keep going through, it will jump back through all the different things that I've copied. Now I'm going to use the undo because that was not good, and Control L to get ourselves back to the middle, and we are in a good spot here. So I've done Control Space, and I can also then just hit delete on a region, and unfortunately nothing happened. If you're on Apple Macintosh with Aqua Emacs, that will delete the region. So I'm going to save this. And now, what if we wanted to replace something that we didn't like? There's a thing called query replace, where you can query. It'll ask you before each replace, so you can either type meta x, type query replace, and then it will let you replace a string. So in this case, I'm going to say SD with some text, maybe some dashes. Press enter. It's going to ask you yes or no for each one. So here I'm going to press the Y for yes, N for no. A spacebar is also equivalent to yes. So I'll hit another spacebar, a no, a yes, and we're done. Okay, so that was meta x query replace, or you can also type meta %. So let's get rid of that. Now, if I type hello worlds, and I maybe misspell it, there's a keyboard shortcut for spelling checking, so I can do meta $. So let's see, meta $, is spell check word. So I'm going to type escape and then the $, and it says I don't like this word. Let's see, and it gives me a bunch of options. So up at the top, it gives us a letter for each of the different options. And it looks like number 2 is our option, so I'll press the number 2. And we now have the correct spelling of hello worlds. Now in Emacs, there's all kinds of extra modes that can help you out. And here we have a snippet mode attached to this one that we won't go into, but let's add one and see if it's there, that will actually do spell checking on the fly. And it's called fly spell. So we'll do a meta x, and then we'll type out fly spell -mode. So let's give that a go. So if I press escape, the letter X, we go into the meta X mode where you can type in lots of commands, and we'll be doing much more of this. And let's type fly spell mode. Now you'll see the word fly appear down here after text. And if we type hello worlds, it will now mark things as misspelled. And we can go through and say which one we'd like to do. I'm holding down the equivalent of the right mouse button on this computer. Or you can do meta $, and get the spell checking that way and hit 2 and you get worlds. Okay, that's the first session of our Emacs tutorial of using the keyboard only for using Emacs. Feel free to use those menus up at the top. Click on them, and hopefully if you're using the right version of Emacs that actually has got the shortcuts, you can start learning them from the menus. Now these menus will change as you switch different types of files, so don't be surprised if these don't always look the same. But pay attention to various things in here. For example, if you want to create a shell or run a shell command, you could type ls, and you now learn that meta exclamation point or bang runs a shell command. So if we type ls, there's now an ls in one of our little windows here in Emacs, and a Control X1 will make that go away. That's it for today. Thank you for watching.